that as a joke. I don't know if you're gonna see that, um, or if it's gonna time out right to anybody else. But Rain just said I'm ready, and I said, "Oh, okay," and then I started streaming. So I'm a little early, but that's fine. Hi chat. If you're watching this VOD on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Consider checking the link down in the description if you like the video. Whether it be my Twitch, my main YouTube channel, or subscribing to this one, I really appreciate your support. Thank you for being here. And congratulations, Rain, on the first! No way! What's up, Ty Guy? How's it going, guys? I have not done anything like this in so long, dude. It has been a while since I've done this. Desk go down a little bit. There we go. Perfect. I want you to know, I was not ready. I was not ready. I was not prepared for today. I mean, like, in general. I woke up extremely late. For anyone who doesn't know, I work nights. So I normally wake up probably around, like, 2 on an early day, 4 on a late day. I woke up a little after 4. It's 5 for me right now. So, and I was just like, there's a lot of stuff I meant to do before stream to set up and do some other stuff. I didn't. I just came here. First just chatting streaming like ever? I know, dude. I don't do just chatting streams very often at all. Hey, what's up, Jelly Bean? How are you doing? Welcome in, welcome in. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. All right, please save me from work. Okay, come here. Come here, Saf. We're gonna need to come up with an excuse. You ran out of ankles. No more ankles for you. No elbows. Missing an eye. We'll have to take one of your eyes, though. Needing a 5 to 9 job. Somebody give this man a stable Twitch career. I mean, if you're handing them out. Just kidding. What's up, Sherbs? Hiya, how are you doing? I'm doing absolutely amazing. I'm very tired right now, but where'd my cankles go? Where'd my cankles go? I got those fair and square. I just spit, chat. That was so gross. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you had to watch that. Hi, Moochie. How's it going? That's such a funny thing. Okay. What's up, Doug? What's up? I started doing YouTube like years ago. Many years ago, and I've started over so many times. And I was sitting in a bedroom with one of my buddies. And I had my laptop and I was working on something dumb or like playing RuneScape or something. And I'm like, I want to start streaming. And they're like, do it. And I was like, okay. And I started streaming. That was like 2.5 years ago, and the rest is history. I don't have an exciting story for why I started streaming. It's where the name Ori Don't came from. Ori Don't was specifically for streaming. It just kind of carried over. Hey, hello everyone walking in. Felt that concern. Hello, Lore Master. They're actually... That's revealing. Hold on a second. Dude, my 2 girlfriends are fighting about some boy and they're not friends anymore. What do I do now? I'm literally in the middle of the background. Window. If there's a window, yump. Sup, are you good at QuickTime events? I don't want to say yes to that. I want to say yes to that, but I don't know if I want to say yes to that. Also, welcome in, Mango. How are you doing? Just don't be part of the fighting. Don't be part of the fighting. Do your best to defuse the situation. Question mark. Or jump out the window. My personal option was to jump out the window, but that's up to you. That's up to you. Both of them are solid options. First floor only. Yes, only on the first floor. Don't do this on the second or higher, please. I crave chips and violence. Yeah, that's kind of fair. Barbecue. The chips are fine. Barbecue violence, though. Oh, I mean, what? I'm not. They are both venting to me. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay. Ask them not to be honest. Oh my goodness, Rain. There is nothing I need to say about that. Chat, I felt like there are a lot of like little mechanics and pieces all over Utopia that have been responded to by me and to other people, and I feel like right now is a really good time to kind of clear up confusion if there's any, to reiterate stuff that I've said before, just to like kind of like in case somebody missed it, in case somebody has the same question but they weren't here at the time or anything like that. I know that the nature of it is that hold on. When a question is answered, there's a chance that not everyone's going to hear it, and then people will join after and have the same question. So I wanted to get around to kind of just answering some questions, whether it be about lore, about mechanics, or anything like that, or what's the next expansion, or, you know, what's going to be in those expansions, or what is canon versus what is, you know, head canon and stuff like that. Make a video about Utopian history. I need to know the myths and the monarchs of Utopia. You know, actually, this upcoming video that's coming out this Sunday was almost that. It was this close to being that. It's not, but it almost was. Also, Rain, you still get to hand out your free sub to whoever you would like, so keep that in mind. Oh, never mind. Rain is gone. Bye, Rain. For anyone who doesn't know, the mystery box is a channel point redeem that you can do, and it has a random effect. Hey, save Bees! Bees wish you know the travel from Paya to Uto. Yo, let's go. Okay, I will answer that. Give me just a second. Okay, so when can we start asking stuff? Absolutely whenever. Yo, what's up, oh, I almost said Quesnel. Quiznal? Quesnel. It would be really funny if it was Quesnel. There's the term Quesnel. It's very unique in my mind. Welcome in, guys. You guys can already start asking questions. How to travel from Paya to Uto. So when it comes to interplanetary travel, there's only certain points where travel can begin because we use the orbit, right? So the Earth is orbiting, or I'm sorry, the moon is orbiting around the Earth. And depending on where the moon is, it can be really, really far away, or it can be really, really close. So we want to take off when the Earth is next to the moon, or the closest to the moon, if that makes sense. So generally it's through ships. You're gonna be using ships as normal. There are a lot of the most common hubs are going to be in Angeles, which is a desert region where the very first ship to ever took off, the Hellion 1 specifically, or the Horn Range. It is the equivalent of the Cascade Range in the US, or Kaino, which is Egypt. And there's kind of a funny reasoning for that. Kaino is actually extremely high-tech. It is not very Payan in nature. Kaino is a very sophisticated society in comparison to the rest of Paya. Oh, is there not? Am I just crazy? Oh, Queisel? Queisel. I think I was just... Horn Range! Yo, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it. Splatterfest, how's it going? Can this be a lore stream instead of a lore stream? You want to talk about lore? L-O-R? The Greek mythos place? What if I try to jump really, really high? Also, gonna add some desert creatures for the bestiary now. Let's go! If you try to jump really, really high, we actually talked something about that by putting on a space helmet and then just using alteration to just go up forever. Technically, in some cases, that might work. Some species could probably survive the vacuum of space. But I don't know if they exist yet? Question mark? Thank you so much, Brant, for the PH redeem. I really appreciate it. Also, welcome in, Brant. Hey, Sage, how's it going? Welcome in. Bro, I just blended a blender in a blender, and my blender broke my blending blender while I have sunglasses on a hoodie eating my mango. That's solid, dude. That's solid. Okay, then characters start with gear or money or to buy gear. I can't for the life of me find where to... So it's not in the book. You are correct. It's not in the book. My rule of thumb, it'll probably be in the Adventurer's Guide, and I'll explain what the difference of that is and why it might be in one or the other. Hi, Splatterfest. Hello. But it is not in the guide. The rule of thumb that I use is level squared. So for level 10 character, it'd be 100 silver pieces. If you were a level 50 character, for instance, oh no, now I have to do math. That'd be 2,500, correct? Right? No, it'd be a lot more than that. Hold on. It is 2,500. Okay, I'm not crazy. Yes, 2,500 silver pieces for a level 50 character. Yo, what's up, Spleefy? How's it going? Automatons and Carnites survive space. Yes, if you were an automaton and you used a permanent alteration spell, you could just fly up. That actually happened once in a campaign that I was running. Crow would know, but Crow's not here. That math was right. Let's go. We'll open a mystery box and got Ori's dogs. Oh! Thank you so much for the mystery box. I appreciate it. The reason why it would probably be in the Adventurer's Guide and not in the core guide. The big difference between the two, what the innate difference, or what the difference was meant to be, right? Is the core guide is the system. The core guide does not assume much of Utopia's flavor. When I talk about when I talk about the main Earth body, Paya, when I talk about any of that kind of stuff, it's touched on in the book, and it's used to fill little gaps. The doggo! What's up, Tired Fan? It's used to fill little gaps and things like that, but it's not really focused on those things, because the core guide should just be the system of the game. The Adventurer's Guide is going to be the flavor expansion to that, I guess. It'll have maps of Paya and Uto. It'll have maps of Imperium and Lore and Kaino. It'll have maps of the Capital District and the Hive District. It'll have a ton more species and a ton more creatures, and reasons as to why those things exist. One of the reasons that all of the weapons and the items in Utopia are so generic is because I didn't want to tie it so directly to Utopian lore. I wanted it to be a generic system with generic options. Like, originally, when I was designing Utopia, things can be broken into 3 temporal categories, right? You have Old Age, which is your high fantasy, New Age, which is your sci-fi, and then Continuous, which means this equally fits into both boxes. Humans are an example of continuous, right? They exist in both easily. But I ended up tearing that apart and trying to make everything as continuous as possible. That's why you have things like a claymore, but you don't really have a battle axe. And I know that's kind of like precarious and probably very subjective, but to me, a battle axe is harder to imagine in a sci-fi setting than potentially a claymore. How many new playable species are going to be in the expansion? Just preparing myself for how many sillies I'm going to have to draw. So first thought is 7, potentially more. Probably more, honestly. There were 15 in the original. Thank you guys so much for the lurks and the hi there's. Thank you guys so much for being here. Also, hello, Block. Sorry for getting sucked up by the box. But these species also have a lot more subspecies, and some of them include kind of some stopgap species, I'll say. So, like, for instance, the mutants, right? The mutants are animal-human hybrids. These fit a huge plethora of playable species. Yo, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in. Thank you so much. So that's an example, right? The sectlings, the lumen sectlings, that's where we start getting more specific after that. And there's one species I haven't told anybody about. And what I want to do, I think, is put it in the Kickstarter expansion. Yo, thank you so much for another follow. I really appreciate it, guys. Heck Shock. Hey, what's going on, buddy? And, oh my goodness, I missed one. Silent Sorcerer, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the lurk and the follow. I really appreciate it. Speaking of lore and mechanics, I thank you from the bottom of my heart so properly separating lore and mechanics in the guide so far. So many TTRPGs bury the mechanics inside blocks of lore text. So that was actually something that people disliked in some cases. I recently just got a comment that said that this game isn't playable, or not playable, but it's not good because it has no flavor. And I'm like, the flavor will come. And honestly, I'm not too perturbed by something like that, because in time that flavor will come, and then people can decide what they think, right? It's now an expansion, so there's a lot more history behind it and a lot more like capability behind it, but it is what it is. What do you think of using a turn action or interrupt action to change travels, spell version, predetermined path? Oh, you can do that. You can absolutely do that. I don't know if you can't do that. Bonus race, that's right. I don't know if it specifically states that you can do that. I assume that you're talking about the travel and array. I think you're supposed to be able to do that, and I didn't. And that makes me concerned, because I feel like that means I found a bug. If it doesn't state it, I'm gonna say probably not a good idea. But if you were running a campaign and you're like, hey, can I change the path of this? As a GM, I would probably say okay until I found a loophole, right? Until I found some kind of loop that it got stuck in. As long as it can only proc on creatures up to once per turn, which almost every spell effect does. I don't see why not. Thank you so much. Wasn't stated? It wasn't stated? Okay. I would say probably just one direction. I would probably say that core rules, like going hard on the text, it only goes in one direction, or it's predetermined before the spell. Even if it's in the same, like, even if it's loopable, right? But otherwise, I don't think I would say. I don't think I would say I would allow it if we were going hard on the rules. Still owe you 3 dogs in Minecraft. You true. I'll see you Friday. Having a very clear and simple rule set for the core book is the best way to do it. Your decision to set it up with the adventurer's guide was the correct one. I appreciate that a lot. And I feel like it was nice to distinguish. When Utopia was first written, you know, I really wish I had one of the thick copies. I feel like I do somewhere. Hold on a second. I have a couple of memoirs here. Give me a second. It's time for a walk down memory lane, chat. So, this is the first ever hardback cover of Utopia that I ever got. And for anyone who's curious, this has no pictures. This has really like just basic tables in it. It is just big blocks of text. And this is how we played Utopia. Okay, there were some pictures. There was talent trees in it. And sometimes I'd stick a little picture right here. Because I had friends who did this art a long time ago. But this is what these pages looked like. And we played like this for years. Probably not years. Probably maybe a year, give or take. And that's what it looked like. And that book is actually thicker than this one, which is the actual prototype of what the manuscript that you guys have right now. This is the full thing, right? And this is how I'm product testing. This is how I'm getting the feel for it. You know what I mean? Making sure that the graphic design actually fits when it's cut off the page. And I mean, for example, there are issues with it. There are definitely issues with this one. Like, these types of pages have no bleed on them, which means sometimes you'll get these little white edges, and I need to fix that. That's just an example. Put them on now. Oh, did somebody get cat ears? So much text. It was so bad. If I were any specifics or race, what would I be? What would you be, Ribs? I would think you'd be an automaton because you'd be a skeleton. I know you always say you're not a skeleton, but you're a skeleton. Thank you, though. Be wonder what animal they're gonna make. Ooh, what animal they're gonna make? You gonna make an animal? Someday I'll get $50 to get a signed copy. I mean, you could also just illustrate, and then maybe, you know, who knows? Ribs is barbecue. Ribs is also a skeleton. You could be a barbecue skeleton. Your whole skeleton is barbecued. It's crazy. Utopia core is the noodles, and the water flavor packet comes later, and you can make it yourself. True! You can put your own cheese and flavor. You can put your own cheese in it. I'm bones, not the meat. You can be a floating ribcage. You can be a floating ribcage in Utopia. Okay, hold on. Honestly, I would like to warn about attempting to make a system too generic. Any system is going to have aspects in it inherently discourages what is in the base mechanics. Being too loose with those expectations can lead to frustration for players. No, and that's fair. That's honestly one of the reasons that the lore was inserted in a couple of spots that it was. So people know that there is kind of a heart behind this, right? There's a heart and soul and an idea. Put an egg and hot sauce in that noodles. Dude, I love that so much. The fox ears again, I see. Someone yelled at me and told me to put them on, so I did. There is a heart and soul behind this, right? There's a history. There's a dense history. And it goes very, very far. That's why, you know, why spells have anatomy, right? Because they grew over time. They changed and manifested based on the people who discovered them, and so on and so on. And I can tell you another one. The flavor and draw in the core book is the crafting / spell crafting. Yo, more cat ears. I don't have a second pair, unfortunately. But I will wear these even harder. The lore is thick. Let the Munchie draw many ocean creatures for the aquatic mutant illustrations. Bet. Spells having anatomy is super cool. You know, honestly, I almost pulled that out. Because I thought it would be overcomplicated. I thought it would overcomplicate the system and make it, like, really taxing to understand. People really like spell anatomy so far from what I've seen. And I feel like in hindsight, it makes sense. Because, like, it does put, like, a little bit of aspect on what it is. I don't know who likes this or what anybody's preferences are necessarily, but to me, I want an answer to everything, right? The reason why size manipulation, and Laser, we were talking about this earlier as well, the reason why size manipulation doesn't exist is because there's no way to make that happen in a consistent way every time. Just because, like, you know, like the Ant-Man conundrum or the Ant-Man paradox, where if you make something small or big, you know, you either watch them float away or they cause black holes, or they start carving through the earth or whatever. And then if you start removing atoms, then you should have memory problems, half of your muscles shouldn't work. I mean, your body works, you know, down to the molecular level, so if you just start ripping those bitches out, it ain't gonna keep working that way, you know what I mean? And who's to say that one single spell that says, bibbidi bobbidi boop, you're small, should just know how to fix all of that in any given circumstance. And only for that reason is there not size changing. Will the online core PDF be updated and remain free alongside the physical release of the book? I would love to try out the final release, but I don't want to fall behind. I'm M. LeBrook. No, I totally understand you. Unfortunately, the PDF will not be free. This is probably the most recent copy we will get up until there is more of Utopia. So if there was a lot more of Utopia, or when there's a lot more of Utopia, portions of the core guide will slowly become more and more accessible at no cost. But for right now, there's a lot of people who are spending money, and even then a lot of money, to support this project and to protect their investment. This is the most free that this is going to get until there's more. If that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. It is complicated, but it doesn't have to be. You can make very simple spells or complex ones. I appreciate that. Next question I have is, are you aware of the mathematical option you've added with the ability to choose what dice you use for damage, either 4d4 or 2d8? Personally, brilliant choice of being able to choose whether you want damage consistency or change for being more bursty. You know, when that mechanic came out, I was really worried. I was really worried, and I knew about the averages and the statistical normality. But one of the reasons for that is because I really just wanted a system where I could roll d20s for damage. And see, so many people are the opposite, right? They're like, I want to roll 34d4 because it is a higher damage, right? On average, you're going to have a higher curve of average damage, right? And you're also going to have more consistent rolls with something like that. But I wanted to roll big numbers. And when I made that, when we added that concept, I was like, is someone going to break this? And honestly, I mean, sure, they break it, they flex it, but I don't think it's ever broken in any way. There was something that that Great was talking about. I gotta see what the rest of their name is so I know how to refer to them. I don't want to lose this, so give me a second. Oh, I can't. The one that's making the animal species. Hold on, I'll go like this. Great Love. Okay, I'm gonna say Great Love. Great Love was designing a couple species, and they added an effect where they said, when you make an attack, you add another die. And I'm like, you have to be really careful, because I'm pretty sure that the people in this Discord can get a D100 out of a crude item. So, just be careful with that, but I like that concept. Yo, what's up? Edmondo, how's it going? Welcome in, man. Thank you so much for being here. Another cat ears, dog. Okay, got another cat ears. Dope. Thank you guys so much for the lurk. All the people who are lurking, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please and please enjoy your stay, enjoy your lurk. But I really like that idea of the add an additional die, because bigger dice are already kind of at a disadvantage. Lower dice are going to be easier. Bigger dice are going to be swingier. So in that same way, if I tell you tack on another die, it's even swingier beyond that. And what if it's only an option, you know? What if it's only a potential that you tack on another die? Well, now your D20s look a lot more, you know, enticing at that point, because that's an extra 20 max damage, an extra average of 10.5, which is huge, you know what I mean? That's a lot. Thank you guys so much for the community art show. I love the option. I like consistency, but I totally understand the desire for rolling a bunch of bigger dice. Another reason for that one is that Utopia in the late levels, you can start rolling a lot of dice, and honestly, it just kind of gets encumbering. If you don't have a digital system, if you're rolling physical dice, adding 44 dice up every time you attack sucks ass. It is, Jesus Christ, that crab rib. It is not fun anymore, in my opinion, after you do it a handful of times. Oh shit, he's talking about me. Oh, Edmondo, is that you? Are you Great Love? I didn't even realize. Yo, thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it, Edmondo. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, I'm Great Love. Oh, let's go. Yeah. Got a great account. I love that so much. Let's see here. Halo mentioned something I believe that I missed. Oh, Splatterfest. I've actually been playtesting a new system called Warforger, which seems to have developed a similar system. While it still uses class and it does similar things with be able to take any skill at any time, it also has a similar crafting and spellcrafting system. Interesting. Oh, sorry, Silent Sorcerer. So as time passes, more parts of the book will become free, but initially you'll be given to those who back Utopia. Got it? I'll be waiting then. Absolutely. I appreciate it. My biggest goal is accessibility, but I also have to respect the people who do invest. That's kind of my big thing. When I did the crafting system and the spellcraft system, I actually figured out that I actually have a binder with a copy of Craftsman's Account of Valeria, which was the initial D&D expansion. That's what the name of the D&D expansion was. I even have some of the notes, like some of the pages that I made to be a D&D expansion and stuff like that before I yeeted that off a cliff. But when this crafting system was made, it was made very, very different from what it is now. It was much more convoluted. It was a lot harder to grasp, I would say, and it didn't make as much sense. So this crafting system is a very, very watered down version of the concept I had in mind before. 100 PP first. I don't think I'm going to be able to walk through spells and do all of the math and stuff like that. If I have a segment to do that, I will try to get around to it, but I'm going to try to get through questions as much as possible. Because I think that's a lot easier answered in the Discord. Would you make a mimic human hybrid species? A mimic human hybrid species? That sounds fun, honestly. Oh, all redeems completed. Unfortunate. I'm sorry, Sapphire. Goodbye, all redeems. I think that'd be cool. I don't think I'd be mad about that. I think that I would consider something for that. Sorry for chat flood. No, you're good. Wait, what? New? You just got here. Let's go. Welcome in. What were the kinds of mutants again? I forgot. There's 4 types of mutants. There are the lizard folk, the beast folk, the bird folk, and the fish folk, or the merfolk. They're called aquatic mutants, avian mutants, reptilian mutants, and beast mutants for now. They might end up just be named after their folk counterparts, because I feel like that's just easier. But each one of them mimic carefully slips into the bestiary. Oh goodness. I don't know why, but it was weird to hear my full name just now. Your full name? The Sapphire Lady or B? So with the mutants, they actually have a really special talent tree, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have like the full species breakdown, because what I gave in the Discord is good for what are regular species, right? But some of the following species will break that mold a lot. You know what I mean? They will get way outside of those bounds. And just for an example, right? Just for an example, the mutants alone have 2 subspecies tree and 1 species tree, which means all of the mutants only have 1 branch in common. Because those creatures are so diverse from each other. You said Sapphire and it broke my brain for some reason. Oh, that's understandable. Would you say Utopia is on par with being as modular as GURPS? I'm doing a whole video on that. I'm doing an entire video on that, so I'm not going to answer that question right now. I'm going to wait for it to come out on Sunday, because this has been a question I've been asked and kind of told a lot. People have told me the answer to that question many, many a times. I do know what GURPS is. I've never played a full game of GURPS, but I have spectated games of GURPS. I know vaguely how the system works and things like that. I'm going to let Sunday answer that question. Squeaky! Pepsi just trying to mess everything up. No, you're just cute. Proud of being the playtest for the aquatic mutant. I love it so much. I definitely like that you decided to make this own system. It's kind of frustrating how many games there are that would be so much better if they didn't kneecap themselves by trying to be D&D compatible. I think about that a lot, honestly. Like, I see a lot of really cool, like, expansions to D&D, and it's like, why D&D, though? Like, you have a lot here, right? Even if you were to, like, just make your own, like, maneuver of D&D, you know, a lot of D&D is using traditional systems that exist in a lot of systems and have been around for a long time. I'm not saying duplicate D&D, right? What are you making if you just make D&D the sequel? And by the sequel, I mean the carbon copy. But, I don't know. How would you recommend creating homebrew kind of spell effects, considering not everything works how we want to, or with a few extra things? Will there be a guide to said philosophy like custom monsters and species? Or there will be a guide to custom monsters and species. It'll be a mini guide. Chances are there will be a free version of it. If it's not free immediately, it will be over time. It'll just be like attached to the core guide as like kind of like a little separation. The core guide is as simple as it is on purpose. There was this, if I used all of the original material in this core guide would probably be 600 pages long. And I pulled it out on purpose because one of the biggest, most important parts of Utopia to me is a low barrier to entry. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. I want people to be able to understand the system if they've never played a TTRPG before. You know what I mean? So I want the system to be approachable while still having a high skill ceiling, which kind of, in this case, I've sacrificed a lot of the high skill ceiling in the way that Utopia is designed right now, but that skill ceiling will come back. That skill ceiling will be here at some point. It's just not in this specific book. Custom spell effects? I don't know about that one. There can be, but it's just really granular, right? Like, you come up with something, you add an RP to it. Or, I'm sorry, in this case, a PowerPoint cost to it. It's really hard to give you an example of that. And the issue with spell effects is that there's so many loops you have to take into consideration. Not gonna lie, I could make Divinium Utopia compatible. I'm just saying. But I think that's one of the things that Utopia Bible, that would be dope as fuck. Also, hi, I'm without audio for a moment. Love you, Crow. That's kind of the thing. It's simple. It's meant to be simple, right? Because I have talked to many people who have literally never picked up a TTRPG in their life, and they made a character just fine. So if you're able to do that, and people are comparing it to GURPS, that's a W, dude. That is an absolute win right there. Even if people are like, oh, GURPS is so much more customizable. But even then, if people get GURPS 2 ? Or things like that, you know, it's like, did you just recreate GURPS? And I'm like, no, because my roommate can learn how to play this game. Not my current roommate. My current roommate obviously plays TTRPGs all the time. But my old roommates, if I can teach them how to play this game and they can play a character in a session in one game and understand how the game works, and you're saying this is a replica of GURPS? Something's going right, in my opinion. Honestly, Utopia has the lowest skill floor I've seen out of a TTRPG, which is very good considering how far out its mechanics are from being big shots of the genre. That is so sweet, honestly. And it really makes me happy, honestly. I think that's what's so important about it, right? Is that the goal is to allow... I know a lot of people min-max, and I know a lot of people like to play thematically, and a lot of people are just new, right? And there's always going to be tension there if you try to put all of those things at one table, right? There's always going to be some kind of tension at that point. But I want a system where it can kind of ease a little bit of that tension, right? Someone can min-max, and someone can be playing thematically, and you guys can still play together. You know what I mean? Because you guys serve different points, right? Now, hear me out here. If I was a new player, or if I was a thematic player and you were a mid-maxer and we both wanted to be the combat buffs, I'm sorry, thematic player, but it ain't gonna happen, right? Unless the thematic is gonna do something like help you out and do like help with like stunt tests or additional damage or proc damage or stuff like that. But if you have like a thematic support and a min-maxing combat, or a min-max frontline, then like you kind of have like a good mix that can play at the table together. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody min-max, somebody play thematically, both of you go into a table together and tell me if you hate each other by the end of it. You taught me and I got the gist in a day, and that's what I'm saying. That's the goal, right? And even in comparison to when you learned Sherb, this game is even simpler now. A lot has been removed from this game just to make sure it is playable, but still customizable. I totally understand that there's only 6 talent trees, right? It's not the most customizable thing in the world, but there is a lot of customization for what it is. You know what I mean? And that is the goal. Everything is extremely modular, or it should be rather. And no reference to GURPS again, where we talk about that later. But hopefully things should just kind of plug into place. People ask me like, hey, what if I want a system without magic? I'm like, just rip the Magecraft tree out. The game is still playable. What the way that I explained it to one of my buddies is that you could rip any one page out of this book and it should still be playable. There are exceptions to that, obviously. Please don't rip out standard actions if you're going to do that. But you get my point, right? You should be able to rip a page out of this book and still be able to play it. And I think that's kind of how it is. I feel like that's how it is. I don't know for sure. You guys are probably going to be doing more testing than I ever have. But Utopia is a really good example of low skill floor, high skill ceiling. But instead of separating those on the other ends of the spectrum, you're trying to allow them to be completely new and ultra min-maxing and have fun playable campaign together. That is the goal. That is the goal of the game, right? Give you a space, give everyone a space to be creative, whether that be numerically creative or thematically creative. And have a space together. You know, one thing I've learned that's really interesting is that there's currently an ad playing. Me ripping the Kraken page out, it counts as me defeating it. I ripped the Kraken page out of the book and I gained 3,000 XP. I think it's 30,000 XP. 30,000 XP. Those numbers might change a little bit. I think all the DRs are going to get cut in half. I learned more than on my first 5e session. Let's go. I see the longevity increasing very much by removing and adding things. Homebrew equals mods. I'm going to wait a little bit before I answer some of these questions because a lot of people don't have... Dude, I just took... Okay, another cat ears because there's an ad playing. So I'm going to hold off a little bit. Uh, 4 seconds, chat. 4 seconds left. Okay, ripping the Kraken page out. I love that a lot. I see the longevity increasing very much by removing or adding things. Homebrew equals mods in video games, which extends the life and time and fun of games. And that's kind of one of the things, like, I want to implore homebrewing, right? Like, first of all, when you come up with an item, there's a very high likelihood that you're going to be able to just make it in the core guide, right? Like, you're not even going to need to homebrew anything. The homebrewing is, like, built into the game. That's the goal, right? Is that here's not only a way to homebrew, here's a way to homebrew and make it balanced, hopefully. Or at least within some range of balance, right? And becomes a god IRL. Wait. But you notice he almost gets to level 11 by killing a single wolf. Yes. You do level up very quickly in this game. That is by design, right? In a single session, my players can get up to level 15. You know what I mean? It's not slow. It's not slow. And the early levels are just even more than that. But creatures do give a lot of XP for how insanely easy they are to kill. Unnum spells and yeet back to work. Oh, yo, both of the bees are talking about spell eaters. That's kind of funny. Are there any plans to release a method or rules for translating monsters from D&D and Pathfinder into Utopia? Considering it started as a homebrew of 5e, I'm remembering right. That is correct. And I want to. Over time, it has manifested into becoming rather difficult in understanding exactly how to do that. But I would like to, personally. I don't know if I can really publish that, just because of copyright issues, but I kind of want to make a generic guide, right? Like, let's say, for instance, instead of putting hard numbers on things, you have okay, someone mentioned an archetype system, and that was an idea I had before this even released. 1400 is a level. If you're soloing it, remember, that's if you're soloing it. Soloing the wolf will level you up at level 10. Oh, actually, it will level you up at level 14, too. So, one of the ideas is that you'd have just these modular pieces, right? It's like, what's its stature? You know what I mean? Tough, frail, whatever, right? Okay, you pick one of those. Then you go, I don't know, like high damage or high resistance or whatever. And then you go, spellcaster or warrior or no specific archetype or anything like that. And you mash all those together and you get a creature. You know what I mean? And it gives you a DR. Probably a difficulty level, so there's just a multiplier somewhere in there, essentially, that makes everything bigger or harder or less hard. And it'll just spit out a stat block. In fact, realistically, what's probably going to happen is that creatures are probably going to end up with that system's going to be made before this game is published, and the creatures are going to be made using that system more than likely. Did I hear min-max? Scribbles down endless possibilities. Seriously though, I've tried to min-max sheets for damage reduction, and while it has possibly become powerful in this regard, it also makes it vulnerable to non-combat scenarios, like all of them, which is a good thing. You don't want someone who can do everything great. That is, okay, let me tell you, something that is so exciting to me. Or am I hearing your Discord? Do you guys hear my Discord? I wouldn't think so. Do you? Just got the ads. Ooh. No question answered and ads start playing. No. Chat, if you need to re-ask any of your questions, you're totally free to. My screen says that the ads are over, but it sounds like they're playing later than I thought. The super fast leveling is why I'm being a little frugal. Yep. Are you able to combo probe and kindle the probe an object and make it a monster? Yes. Yes, you absolutely can. More money's more money. Ooh. Natsuno, what's up? I mean, I'm hearing Discord. What? Oh, you guys probably are, actually. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna need to figure out a way around that. Give me a second. Hey, Discord. Stop. I guess that didn't work. Oh, there's multiple instances of Discord, apparently. Okay, hopefully that's better. Basically, rules for pulling monsters from D&D and Pathfinder coming, yes or no? Oh, man, there's a really long explanation about it. Jesus Christ, dude, I almost just jumped out of my skin. Oh, my God. Thank you, Crow, for 100 biddies. I saw Crow gave 100 bits, and I was getting ready to thank you, and then it screamed in my ear, and I died. Have a good one, Saf. Thank you for being here. Okay, so essentially the idea, right, is that you have these little stat these stat preferences. So like you have like a stature, right, from like rigid to frail. You have like a difficulty from easy to like super boss, and things of that nature. Then you'll have like spell, like what type of creature is it? Beast, construct, celestial, primordial, whatever. And then you'll have like additional archetypes, like spellcaster, warrior, you know, healer, stuff like that. Oh, that's a soft speak. Hold on, let me turn on a timer. All right, we're gonna be in soft speak here for just a second. And you can mash those together however you want, and it'll spit out a creature. Chances are, what I'm gonna speak softly and carry a big stick. Chances are what's going to happen is I'm going to finish that system before Utopia is published, and I'm going to remake all the creatures using that system so that they are accurate again, because it really feels like a lot of them are very underpowered for what they are. They are really easy to kill for how much XP they give. I don't even mind that they give out a lot of XP, but the DR is just misleading. It's just not accurate. Furthering this thought, you can cast spells with probe, right? You cannot cast spells from your probe. From the monster. No, you cannot do that. It does not work like a familiar. All right, chat, that's the end of that one. That's the end of soft speak. I feel like I made people uncomfortable doing that, but I don't know. I think there's another question that I probably answered during an ad that I did not catch. You said stop, and then immediately it beeped. Okay, the Discord sounds, I think, are going away, right? We don't hear any more Discord sounds? I hope not. There is something there's a lot of things I'm going to ask. There's 2 big notifications that I want to do. And one of them will probably come out today or tomorrow at least. And one of them is going to be a big question, right? Furthering this thought, can you cast spells? B wishes the zombie had the ability to use items. It does. That's one thing I should probably mention, is that giving an item to a creature raises its DR, but it does not raise how much XP it gives. In response to it getting the item, it drops the item. So that's kind of how XP is calculated in this system. Is if you can hand it an item, and one of 2 things can happen. You can treat that item as a weaponless attack, right? So like if a bear has, you know, huge claws, I might give it a dagger stat block and then just call it its claws, right? That would be XP and DR increase. But if I'm giving a goblin an actual dagger, it's a DR increase, but it's not an XP increase because it's going to drop the dagger. Oh, B is gonna give probing to the zombies. Oh, thank you so much for the hug. I really appreciate it. I have much less space to be hugging right now, but I can still hug. I think that creating that DR system, that template creature system, is going to be really helpful for people trying to come up with creatures. It's a lot less taxing, I feel like, to try to come up with creatures that way, to be like, big, You know, I'm like, you could toss all of those together in a random order, and I could come up with a creature that way, and it would be easier for me. Deconstructor plays hoards everything. Player hoards everything. Yeah, no, 100%. That's honestly the reason that... She's squeaking. That's honestly the reason that the slot system exists. How often are characters expected to be earning levels? It's really fast. It's really fast. It was designed that you kill a goblin. If you were to solo a goblin, you should level up. At level 10, you should level up from soloing a goblin, realistically. Maybe a goblin and a half. You know what I mean? It should be pretty darn quick. It does get slower, but more so the progression slowing is more so from how expensive your talents get, right? It should not really ever take much to take sprint. It should never be hard to take sprint. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be hard to tank Tinkerer. It shouldn't be hard to take, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? Those are very, very basic talents. And if leveling progression was very slow, that would suck to have to spend hours and hours grinding and grinding just to take sprint. Whereas if you're like level 80 or something like that, then it's like, well, yeah, you went this long without it, right? So chances are, you know what I mean? You're resistant to learning at this point. If you enhance the senses of an object, make it a creature, then probably you get the advantage of its body or summon your own body. Yeah, you can do that. Right now, B just thinks that results in a TPK. No, in that case, it is too low. If it results in a TPK, no, that is too low. It's got to result. Yeah, no, you get it. You get it. You understand. No, Moonchi got sucked up for 10 seconds. Got eaten by the box. We've been making jokes that mystery box is a mimic because one of the options that it has is to eat you, and it just times you out for a period of time, and it seems like that's what everyone gets. Wait, please, my moth. No, my moth. My moth. Kirby box strikes again. Yeah, Kirby box. Exactly. One thing I was gonna say is that people have definitely found like pinholes in the system, right? People have poked holes in it. Obviously, there's an infinite combo for infinite poison. But all things considered, knowing that it is an open-ended crafting system, there's a lot of hungry boxes. True. Knowing that it's an open-ended crafting system and an open-ended spell crafting system with so many like potentials, I feel really good with how well it stood up to all of the scrutiny, all of the playtesting, everyone stress testing the living shit out of it, because it seems to always end on one note, right? You are correct. You are really, really good at that one thing. And where did you suffer? You know what I mean? There's always a point of suffering at somewhere in the game when you're designing these characters. It's like, yeah, you can do this, this, and this, but this is the cost you paid. Which is the only reason that things like Perpetual is getting, you know, a higher PowerPoint cost. Because it doesn't have that much of a sacrifice to get those innate abilities, right? Well, might make a mimic mystery box. Thanks for the idea. Uh-oh. Enjoy yourself, Rav. Boxes don't get fed that often, to be fair. That is true. I don't really feed boxes, ever. Well, I mean, I feed the mystery box, my chat members, a lot, but that's not the point. The literal rapture bomb. The literal... Oh, yo, you changed your name! Great love, how's it going? That's kind of dope, actually. They eat each other? Scary. Maybe. Oh, yes, I can freeze the ocean, but I also have 14 SHP. That is correct. Ye old, do a lot of damage or do a lot of stuff, have a wet napkin worth of health. That's a good one. We also feed the trash box trash. Oh, that is true. When we do color battle. I've been wondering about that. How are we going to do a color battle? How are we going to take input from everybody? And how are we going to decide what color they wear and yada, yada, yada. But I think that'd be really fun. Like, maybe it could be a, what is it? It's a PvP, play-by-post. Might make sense, but it just plays through the sponsors, if that makes sense. Or something along those lines. I don't know. It could be one of those things where it's all in chat commands. It's a little difficult to do, but it's possible. Really is quite shrimple. My opinion is probably better. True! We could do chat commands where there's actually like player pieces and people can move and stuff, but I think that the game might get too complex or something like that. As a blue representative, we might die to the hands of purple or green. I love that the representative just kind of walked up to the podium, just kind of went, "We're probably gonna die." Do you think the behemoth would follow any of the creature creator programs? Yeah, no, it definitely could. I think that the creator program would probably go pretty darn high. I don't know. I guess like if it's like a world beast, you know, like something that's so big that it modifies the terrain around it. Maybe not. You gotta get some. It might be able to, but you might be a little bit limited in how to go about it, because at some point you just need special limitations. You know what I mean? Or not special limitations, special accessories onto the creature. Alright, wanted to ask. Concentration needs to be mentioned only really for the default spells, but enchantment says extending spells uses focus rather than concentration. Is this intentional? Yes, so the idea behind that is that even if you don't have enchantment, you can concentrate on a spell. That is the only way to elongate a spell without enchantment. Concentration is awful. Concentration, you can only concentrate on one thing at once. While concentrating, you cannot block, dodge, attack, or cast spells. And you can do that for a spell. So if you're trying to turn invisible and all you have is illusion, you can just sit there and concentrate on it if you want. Focus is a lot better because it doesn't prevent you from taking any actions. And you can focus on a number of things equal to your awareness score. Ultimately, if the primary cost of an ability is just getting levels, I do have concerns regarding how effective that will feel as a cost in higher level play. Yeah, I mean, there are, like, kind of more granular costs to it, right? Because if you're spending 9 levels to get Warmonger, right? That is just spending 9 levels mechanically, but what you're also spending is what you could have spent those 9 levels on. At least in my opinion. And you're free to disagree with me as well. Blus, stand together strong. Blus! Blus! I might cook up the design of one of the behemoths. Oh my god, that'd be so cool. What's the difference between a beast and an abomination? Beasts are like wolves, bears. You could argue a griffin, whereas an abomination is going to be like an ooze, chimera, things like that. Abominations are kind of your scapegoat of non-artificial creatures. Or, not non-artificial, but like biological creatures. An observer would be that. A beholder would be an abomination. Just things that just don't fit. You know what I mean? A hug! Thank you so much for the hug, chat. I appreciate it. You have any idea how it works? No? Abomination. Pretty much, yeah. That works. That's pretty accurate. Yo! What's up, Renee? How's it going? Renee, oh my goodness, do I have some news for you. A lot has happened. A lot has happened. How much silver for doing a simple job for someone like taking care of a pet and so on? Usually it's gonna be around like the 5 to 10 mark, I would say. Someone asked me what the ratio is, silver pieces to USD, and I never thought about that. Like, for any game, I've never considered that. Hello? I'm gonna tell you in just a second, Ren. You stay. I don't think it scales properly, but roughly in the lower sections of the game, I would say that 1 silver piece is $2 US, give or take. And you'll have to convert that to your own currency, because I can't name that for every currency, but USD does convert. So, pay the DM for in-game currency. Correct. Yes, you can give them $2 for 1 silver piece. Cough it up. Okay, Renee, I want to tell you. Oh, Skies! I'm sorry. I'm at level 38 in the Discord. It's been just over 19 hours. Jesus Christ, dude. How, man? Microtransactions in my TTRPG? I'm gonna go so broke. Jesus Christ. Renee, I don't know how much you remember or if you've heard about Utopia, the tabletop RPG that I've been designing. But it got funded on, it actually got 5x'd. It's been about 7 to 8 days now, and it's been 5x'd. Thank you so much for the follow. I really appreciate it, Tired Fan. Welcome in. I'm so happy to have you. Yo, we hit a follower goal. No way. We met 850. Let's go, dude. Thank you guys so much. Congrats, hello. So proud of you. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot. It's been so amazing. Everyone's been so supportive. It's so wild. Good thing I didn't use all my silver. I had 52 silver, real. Thank you guys. Taiga, it's because we've been camping in the VC since they joined. No, that's fair. That is a good way to get a lot of XP. I'm gonna be real with you. When can you spend points for a talent? Like on the middle of a fight to say, you know what? I want to be able to make water now. Oh, there goes my camera. Yes. So talents are a no action cost. You can literally take a talent between your turn actions. When we were playing the Pious Redemption campaign yesterday on Twitch, there was a point where we were running down the hill and we were not catching up to our party. So I said, fuck it, I take sprint. I'm taking sprint right now. The idea is that there's kind of two main ways to learn things. Obviously there's more than that, but for the sake of explanation, two main ways to learn things, right? You can learn it because you want it, and you can learn it because you need it. Rip Cam. Well, Cam is back. Say hello to Cam. Is there any way to get a refund in talents? No, you cannot be refunded a talent. Once you know it, you know it. I would love to forget a lot of things, but I cannot. Now, there may be really complicated explanations as to how you could. But in the core system, no. Somebody is talking about basically a mass refund system where there's some type of consumable or item that you use that literally just gives you all of your talent points back, and you just put them back wherever you want. You know what I mean? Or all of your sub-trait points back and stuff like that. One day in the future, maybe, but no, not right now. Hi, Zoppy! How's it going, Zop? You start with 100 SP when you are level 10 at the start. Yeah, so it's level squared. That's a recommended amount. You can move that around if you want to. You can start a person with 300 SP, and it wouldn't be crazy. They're going to be more powerful for sure, because they can afford extraordinary items at that point, but you get away with it. Hi, Cam. Hello, chat. Well, I posted the Ego Death consumable that lets you reset. Yeah, laser! And Crow approached me about that as well. And Crow's like, what rarity would that be? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, that feature alone is probably 200 RP. So you could probably get away with it being mythical, or just put a metric shit ton of downsides on it and drop it down to legendary. But I'm realizing now that consumables, their downsides, so first of all, a lot of their downsides are just gonna go away. And a lot of you know why. There's a lot of infinite combos. But as well, I think, like, for instance, like, unwieldy, that's not that big of a downside for consumable. Like, it's not that bad. Like, yes, it's unwieldy, but you're also gonna get rid of it. And then that's when you get your use out of it, is when you get rid of it. So, I don't know if those things really make as much sense. I mean, they're still gonna be there, right? Because there's different bulkiness of items. But they're not gonna be worth that much. You're not gonna get that much of an RP discount for making it bulkier. Consumables are just so powerful. Full respec system, exactly. Would future expansions include extra additional content such as other download activity, more item options, and potentially a trading system and or information gathering, basically a bunch of stuff all. Yeah, if I understand what you're talking about, like are you talking about like online programs and stuff like that? I've been working on one. One just got uploaded to Patreon right now, actually. And I was going to do kind of a post update about what you can expect on Patreon if you're interested in that. There's also free trials. The digital character sheet that I was talking about earlier is up there right now. So you can actually download it and use it. But even beyond that, what was it? Soon here, I'm going to be asking people, thank you so much for the patrons. This needs to be updated. This very recently, is no longer correct. So I'm going to have to update that. But it's been moving a lot and I have not been on top of stuff. Oops, still broken. Correct. Is there any poison? Also, would you consider acid when you, what defense would you make it use? Acid would ignore defense, naturally. Corrosives and things like that ignore defense. And poison ignores SHP. So if you have an acidic poison, it ignores SHP and defenses. So you have something really, really powerful at that point. What was I gonna say? Oh, one of the polls I'm gonna put up is for asking questions about what accessory items, if you could get one accessory item to go with the release of Utopia, because I've been working on a bunch of them since I've been working on Utopia, so a lot of them are at least half made. or designed. Some of them are even fully designed already, realistically. So a poll to say, if you could get one accessory item to Utopia that eases play or just is some kind of like superfluous addition, what would you want? And the options were item and talent cards. So actually, Crow, I'm gonna grab your set real quick. I don't know how to trust someone else. Told me it was 200. Huh? What was 200? Take my money. Take my money. Oh. It's whatever you want it to be. It's really whatever you want it to be. But generally, it's level squared. I'll be right back. So, this is an example. When I play at home... Yo, the refund all redeems. No way. If you do plan on playing Utopia at the table, this is probably something you'd want to see. This is what we use when we play Utopia. These are such a lifesaver, dude. These are talent cards. And they also come in the form of item cards and spell cards. So basically, these fit in a binder like magic cards, right? You can put these in a binder. So if you wanted to make a character, you can have this deck. And when you take the cleave talent, you stick it in your character's binder. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? You could do the same thing with inventory, and you can do the same thing with a spell book. The hard part about inventory and spell book is that you can't really modify them in any way, which makes it difficult. One of the options that we had for that is that we have spell features and item features on their own respective cards, and you can combine them and have like an item page instead of an item card, if that makes sense. But that was an example of how that could go. Ooh, cards! These cards are not accurate to what they would actually look like. This was the first set of cards I ever printed, but this is kind of the idea, right? So like, you have, this is the prowess tree right here in the very front. You have the warfare tree. You have the tactics tree. The magecraft tree used to be blue, so that one's not accurate anymore. That is very practical. So that was one of the options that would be a potential addition on the Kickstarter. An accessory option, because a lot of it is already designed. Another option, I'm going to put these back before I say. Another option, gotta go see you around 7-ish, just see you then, Crow. Another option was character journals. And this would be like character sheets, but they are extremely detailed in comparison. They're small, they're probably about this big. And there's a couple fashions that those could come in, right? Where you have probably like 5 to 6 pages for your character. Then you have like 5 or 6 pages that depicts lore, you know, history, backstory, favorite these, favorite that. Just things that kind of force you to think about who your character is. And then you have these entire pages dedicated to custom items, custom spells, you know, your inventory and stuff like that. What your talents are. So you have these talent pages that have these big blocks for your talents instead. So you have a talent name, you can describe the entire talent, and it has a body, mind, soul cost. And you can write those for each of your talents if you want. And then you have your custom spells, your custom items that have like entire pages and lists out for like what features they have and how much they cost, what the RP value is, stuff like that. So that was kind of one of the ideas. The other option behind that was that the character journal is one journal, the custom items is one journal, and the custom spells is one journal. So you can have a spell book, a blueprint book, and a character book. And they come in a pack of 3, or you can get them one at a time. I think I would enjoy that for thematic reasons. I think it'd be really fun to have like just an entire character portfolio, but I also know that is a luxury item, right? That is not necessary to play the game. It might make it a little easier, but it is a luxury item. You know what I mean? And the last one is a purely luxury item, which would be a collector's edition of Utopia, which is just simply, you know, like maximum quality everything, and then a special design on the front. That is a purely luxury item. I'd buy so much for my characters. I know, I feel that. I would do the same. So that's what I wanted to ask the community, or if they feel like that there should not be anything. Whipping out my dual disc for Utopia. There's something that just hits different, when you open up a real spell book with spells that you made. You know what I mean? I don't know. It just hits different. But with that, I just want to ask people what they want, right? What would be easiest for you guys? At least talent cards would be very nice. No, talent cards would be extremely practical in my opinion. That's kind of, honestly, the way that I just explained it is kind of my personal priority order. It's what I would have picked without asking anybody. The first one is cards. Cards are helpful, they're practical, they make it easier to play at the table, they make it easier to keep track of stuff. The next one would be something like character journal. It would be nice. It's not important, but it's nice. And then the collector's edition, which I know is important to people who like to collect these books. And if I was like, hey, you have a small window to grab these books, I know that a lot of people would like that. I also can see a lot of people not liking that, so I'm not as hyped about that one personally. Oops, not me making a spell book myself already. Oops. That's kind of another thing, is that you could also just get a journal, and it would have a similar effect. That's just me, though. That's just me. So that poll's going to go out. The Patreon post and what's up there is going to come out soon as well. So that people can see, like, kind of what's going on over on that side of the world. But I think that today, more than likely, we're going to have the what do you want posts on both Kickstarter, Discord, and on YouTube. I've got Raccoon's Remote Explosive earlier. Individual Artifice is just so cool, in my opinion, after I read it. I'm glad you like it. Honestly, I'm really, really glad you like it. I think that it's going to be expanded upon a lot of times. I think that a lot of the features of magic and item crafting is going to be expanded on. Spellcraft is hard for me. I don't know if the arts themselves will get expanded. I think they might just stay the way they are, and more arts will be introduced, right? Because in Utopian lore, they were discovered, you know what I mean? At one point, there were only 4 arts, and then following the history of the Twilight Elves, we got the remaining 4 arts. And over time, there are more than that. There are more than 8 arts in Utopia, realistically. There's just 8 in the core guide, because those are your basic ones. So I think instead of arts being expanded on themselves, I think we just get more of them. That's my thought process, at least. Twilight Elves are such chads. They discovered all the cool ones. True. Yeah, heck all that, like, foundational stuff. Heck all that, like, early stuff. Nah, dude, I want the cool stuff. I want the infinite torture spells. I see you there. I know you guys make infinite torture spells. I saw one. I saw it. Twilight Elves are Chad. Twilight Elves are heavily prejudiced against, and that's why they're Chads. Because the Solar Elves, they're from a Solar Elf and a Lunar Elf interbreeding. It has a rare chance of creating a Twilight Elf. It's not super common, but when it happens back in the ancient days, that was extremely taboo, and you were shunned and exiled if you were a Twilight Elf, just for being born, because elves be like that. And after kind of creating these, like, little, like, pockets of refugee camps and stuff like that, they went to the dwarves, because they're extremely magically inclined. If you look, this is kind of funny, if you look at their, like, the scars on their face, they look like constellations. I'm not positive this is true yet. But, actually, this is a really deep subject. Chat, do you want a lore dump? Do you want a celestial lore dump? Do you guys want to hear about the celestials and the pantheon and dumb shit like that? Are we gonna go into the tangent? B's like Twilight Elves, but B loves lore dumps. That's 1 for lore dump. Rain, I know that you're gonna know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the celestial diamond. The diamond chart. You know what I mean? I think that's safe to explore. Damn, missing lore from Taco Bell ad. Damn you, Taco Bell. Oh, that's okay. I will wait for the ad to finish. Oh, that one, that's some deep lore. No, 100%. Thanks so much for the lurk, Moonchi. Love you. Rain, do you have somebody that you want to, is it finalized lore? No, and that's kind of why I'm okay with sharing it, because the chance of it changing is very high. Stop hiding deep lore in ads. I'm not talking. I was not talking about it. I see that the ad just ended. I did not talk about it yet. I was just asking questions to Rain. Rain, do you still have someone that you want to gift that sub to? Both of my parents died on my birthday. My grandparents also got attacked by bears, and then my house burned down and I was shunned. Yeah. That's character backstory. That's the Batman clause right there. Okay, so do you guys bet the Bears burned it? Do you guys want to hear about the Celestial Pantheon Eldritch lore dump? It is non-finalized, so I warn you, it can change. But current headcanon. Yo, thank you so much for the follow. I love wolves. How's it going? Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Yee! Absolutely, tell us. True and real B. Real. Hi, can I be a mod, please? Unfortunately, I'm gonna need you to be here a little bit longer before you can be a mod. Whoever gives Moth head pats first. Chat, who's giving Moth head pats? Am I watching Moth? Does that count? Does that count as head pat? Ooh, woo. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Head patting Moth right now. Oh, Sky said it. Now, to be fair, Ty Guy did say Moth. Okay, Sky gets it. Congratulations. Thank you guys so much. For anyone who doesn't know, if you redeem first in the stream, it can only be redeemed once, and generally people redeem it in the first, like, -4 seconds of the stream. You get to gift a free sub either to yourself or if you're already subscribed to someone else. So thank you, Rain, for
gifted a tier 1 subscription to Sky_Heights.
Thank you, Rain, for redeeming first, and congratulations, Sky, for getting the free sub. I appreciate it. Thank you for the PH redeem. I appreciate it. So vaguely how the celestial lore works, right, is angels are generally tied to stars, and demons are generally tied to fallen stars. Eldritch are tied to black holes, and the gods are literally everything else. So a rough explanation of what I mean by that. When Utopia was first getting designed, Yuto and Paya had... The idea was that they had extremely varying opinions, right? Because Yushins were generally very atheist, and Payans were generally very religious. But at the end of the day, they both lined up really well, right? They were kind of believing the same thing with different circumstances. So angels interact very similar to how stars do. When a star... Oh, Pip, what? Pip just yelled at me. When a star dies out, when it starts to fade and it loses its light and it turns into a dwarf star, that is the same concept as an angel falling. And a fallen angel becomes a demon. So demons are naturally a lot less powerful than angels, but they still work. And more so, when two angels go into combat with each other, they can meld. And melding is a very, very catastrophic process. Comes with a big boom. And then sometimes they turn eldritch. Thank you for the nice snack. I will grab that here in just a second. When they turn eldritch, that is the equivalent of a black hole. So that's kind of the concept that we have here, right? Is that angels, demons, and eldritch are all based on real celestial bodies that do exist. If you were to see them, the diamond formation that I was talking about, you know, maybe I just like open Photoshop and start explaining it. Maybe I can do that. Give me a second, chat. This isn't gonna look pretty. This isn't gonna look pretty, chat. Don't expect anything to look pretty. I'm gonna go grab that snack while Photoshop moves. Give me just a second. Thank you! Okay. Ugh, it's in the microwave right now. I'm gonna have to wait an entire minute. B, go to rest now. Have a good rest. I appreciate you. And then it'll be a soft speak. Hold on. Thank you so much for the mystery box. I hope you have a good snooze. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you. Good night, bees, and not be like being. Hey, Ori, I put a drawing of the Archer Bob in the Discord. Let's go. I appreciate it. I will check that out soon. I have to re-sign into my Adobe like every 26 seconds, so I'm doing that right now so I can open Photoshop and talk about the gods. Everything to me happens in diagrams. Everything in the world exists in diagrams in one way or another, and it's just what makes sense to me. I don't know what's wrong with me. Okay. Wrong one. Can I do? Yes, I can. Perfect. Adobe should stop. Real MS Paint time. More like MS Photoshop time, but yes. If it worked. I think it's this one. No, it is not that one. Not that one. It is this one. Okay, there we go. So basically, that is the end of soft speak. So if I were to draw like a little diamond, right? Let's draw our little diamond. And let's give it a black outline because this makes me want to cry. Now it's too big. Okay, so if you imagine that right here, roughly, is humanity. That is a terrible font. Give me something else. I love Montserrat. Make everything as visible as possible. Okay, if down here we have humanity, right? This is humanity. Oh, thank you so much for the spray. I really appreciate it. Oh, God. Oh, man, Piper hates sprays. I don't know what it is. Harry, you should, like, give me a name for a necromancy advancement. Necromancy advancement? Like, what kind of advancement? Like, are we talking, like, achievements, or are we talking, like, a talent? Because now you've got me excited. It's diagram time! I'm very curious to see how spray works. Yeah, I have a spray bottle, and I spray myself with it, but it works like a goddamn jet engine. Or you can't be a perfectionist about the example diagram. I will. Both. I feel like a necromantic achievement, the first one that comes to mind is resurrecting a certain amount all at the same time, right? So like mass resurrection of a bunch of things. A talent would probably be, depending on what your system is in place, how much control you have over your necromancy, right? Or if you want to go really powerful, a phylactery. A phylactery is really strong. Oh dang, you actually spray yourself. That is correct. So if we imagine on this left side, we have angels. And then on this side over here, we have demons. Then up here, we'll have the eldritch. And this will probably soon make more sense, or it won't. I don't know. I'm going to pick another font and another color for this next one. Whoops, new group. And we'll do stroke and color overlay, and we'll make these, like, red. So, the closer to humanity that something is, the more comprehensible it is, right? Generally, angels and demons, in the way that we know them, are very comprehensive. So, for instance, if we had, like, a cupid, like the little, like, imp version of an angel, a cupid would probably go about right here. Another example is a seraph. A seraph is probably going to be more exemplified of a better example of kind of what you imagine an angel to look like, right? You know, kind of looks like the Cambions, but even more so. Probably just taller and larger. You know, just big angel wings, humanoid figure, yada yada. Up here, towards the top, where they get less comprehensible, you have biblical angels, where they have, you know, 6 eyes and floating rings and stuff like that, and lots of tentacles. They're still angelic beings, but they're not the same, right? Whereas with demons, you know, you have, like, up here, archangels would also probably exist, but down here you have things like imps, and probably devils on this line as well. I don't know if infernals and abyssals are going to be separated in any way. They're probably not, honestly. But up here you would have, like, archdemons. You know, things like that. Arch is kind of true in both, realistically. So, archangels and archdemons are both going to be very close to eldritch. Come ambience for the spell system. Does it slow down the game a bunch while people try to figure out what they want to do on the fly? It depends. It depends on when they're trying to devise the spell. Usually there's some really quick, like, easy cheat codes that you can use. So, for instance, right, if you want a spell to go further, you just tack on 2 stamina and it goes 5 extra meters. That's all you gotta do. You know what I mean? In my experience, it's been faster to cast spells in Utopia than it is in D&D, which is wild to me. I don't... having predetermined spells is very helpful, right? And a lot of times you can take a spell that kind of works and just make it work, because you can just modify it a little bit. Anubis, or are you descending from Charlemagne? I don't think so. Is this supposed to be spelled serif? Oh, you're right. Thank you. Oops. Yas. Cambions, my beloved. Also, it is important to note that biblically, an archangel is actually very low ranking in the hierarchy of angels. Oh. We'll put these down here then. This is Utopian lore. This is Utopian lore. Australian. But I appreciate that brief piece of knowledge. Like I said, this is subject to change. Depends on how well you know the system as well as you know how complicated they want to make them. Exactly. Anyways, what happens from time to time is that these guys will fight with each other, or these guys will fight with each other. An angel melding with a demon is not nearly as bad. An angel melding with an angel is bad. A demon melding with a demon also isn't that bad. But if an angel is included, if it's double angels, you have a high chance of an eldritch. Or a high potential for an eldritch. Angels are closer to eldritch in most scenarios. But what I would say the biggest difference between the left and the right side, right, is age. So from this side, right here, you have youth. You have the young. Whereas on this side, you have the old. Demons are weaker, but they are wiser than angels are. And that's kind of the way that I interpret the whole, like, good versus evil thing, is that demons are simply pessimistic and, you know, non-caring. You're in the world for thousands upon up to millions of years. And you just grow nihilistic, right? They have lost their light, they have lost their grace, they have fallen, and they have left to this lifetime of lacking care, or lacking compassion, I should say. Demons are not always innately evil in Utopia, they're just often treated that way. And angels are the flip side of this coin, where they're always treated as good, but they don't have to be good. The young can still be evil. It's just how they are. The angels messed up the fusion dance, real. But, like, biblically, they're above angels, but below seraphim and cherubim, for example. That makes sense. I understand. Anyways, I must, leave again. Bye, Australian! Have a good one! I'm gonna explain more of this, but I'll be right back. The gods fit in this chart. Okay. I'm going to add my favorite part of this, and that is where the gods lie. They kind of lie roughly here. That's needless to say that they're everywhere. The gods are very abstract formalities, right? So, for instance, death is a god. Death is the abstract accumulation of all death in existence. So, the more death there is, the more powerful death is. Without any living creatures, death cannot exist. But once living creatures return, death will exist again. Most of the gods are relatively inevitable, and most of the gods are going to cease to exist at some point. Literal gods of the gaps. So that's kind of the nature of the abstract god. Actually, you make this thing called a Grimmerith, which is a tome that lets you create new types of undead. There can only be 5 in a world before it begins to become unstable, also making a tech tree for it. How would I make it fit within the customizability of Utopia while keeping it strict into how you can use it? I would say likely just run a talent tree with it. keep your limitations. You can make another art if you want to, but necromancy does exist. So what it could be is that a prerequisite is being able to use necromancy or make it an item. And you can only use the talent tree if you have the item and know the art, or make a specialist talent that bars it, right? And then just make it simply a talent tree that spreads further down that line, right? This is an expansion to necromancy in of itself. I feel like the spell system could really use a full guide, because there's a ton of nuance in the system that could use some explaining. Oh, 100%. There's a lot of nuance in the spell system. I don't even know how to cover all of it, but I do want to make a guide on it. I do plan on making a guide on it, and I'm learning everything I can from players and seeing what they think and feel. What's needed to create a god? Create something that's never been seen before. Now, let me say, Utopia was very intentionally designed so that a player can rise to the level of a god. So, the gods are abstracts, the Eldritch are not. The Eldritch are not abstract creatures. They are simply just real things that happen. They are primordials. They have been around for a long time, but they are creatures that exist. Unlike these abstract concepts, they're not just the accumulation of death. They're Cthulhu. They're just a dude. But they're as powerful as the gods because of age. Because of how long they've been around. Because of how much power they've accumulated and how many pacts they've made. A human does not fit into either of these boxes necessarily, but they can grow to that power. It is possible. It is infinitely scaling for a reason. There is a character in lore that stated, so many humans I've come across seek the power of gods. I don't know why they set their sights so low. And that is kind of the concept that Utopia was designed to be based on. Hi, Silas. How's it going? We have been holding veritable college debates on the spellcrafting system over the last week. It's kind of wild. It's kind of wild. Ooh. So the gods are conceptual beings that don't really rely on worship, but instead exist based on what concept they embody. I guess a fire god more powerful than with more fire, or maybe it's more like a god of energy, or a more specific god is a shard of God that embodies a higher concept. Yeah, and indirectly, worship can lead to their empowerment, right? Because if you have a fire god, people will likely set things on fire in worship. So you're indirectly empowering this deity. But these deities don't have feelings, you know what I mean? Or at least most of them don't. Most of them don't have concepts or sentience. They are just purely abstracts. Can they form in a way of that? Yes. And if you were to ever see a god come down and speak to you, it would be in a form that makes the most sense to you. It would be in an approachable form. And more specifically, if you were to meet a god, it would match whatever religion you believe. So if you're from Shiet, it will take on a Nordic representation. If you met the god of skies, while being a part of the Shiet Pine religion, then you would probably see something similar to Odin or Thor. If you were a part of lore or the Greek representation, you would see something similar to Zeus, and so on and so on. That's not their real form. That's just the form they take to make sense to you, right? This is a formatic representation, and they're never gonna do that on their own. Someone's gonna have to make that happen, but it is possible, right? That would be essentially funneling an entire concept into one being. And we're talking about such ridiculous capability here. Like, so powerful. Absolutely fire line, by the way. I appreciate it. Schizo 5e lore. I love that. Another thing is if you're atheist. If you were to behold a god as an atheist, they would come as a suit of empty armor. It would be walking plate mail or chainmail or whatever armor that god would be wearing. But the point is that the god, or what the humanoid figure of that god, would not exist. They would be invisible, for you do not believe in them. You believe in their ramifications, but you do not believe in them. AKA a suit of armor with nobody inside. Anyways, that's the current conceptualization of the Pantheon. There's a lot of things that can change, but that's how it is right now. Mochi has been sucked away. People can be treated as gods, and frankly, there are a lot of people that are much more powerful than gods. Because one thing, okay, we're actually gonna get really deep here in a second. One thing to take note of is that one thing that is true about every god and most eldritch creatures and angels and demons and most people in variety is that they cannot traverse timelines. One of the downsides to this immense power that they have is that they are locked into where they are, right? They are a part of this world and a part of a timeline that they cannot exit. They are attached to it innately. Their power spawns from that. If you were able to traverse timelines, you would immediately gain a feature that no god has ever had, that no eldritch being has ever had. They simply cannot. That is where their power beholds. Fascinating. Thank you. I appreciate it. AKA, everything on that list that I showed you is not capable of chronomancy. Even the god of time cannot. Even the god of time cannot travel time. It's just in the nature. Saw a post on the D&D character concepts who was atheist warlock that thought clerics were just snooty. That's so funny, dude. I love that so much. So that is the kind of the idea of the Payan Pantheon, or the Pyantheon, if you will. Is that the point is that it's all subjective, realistically. Religion is subjective in this world. Ah, yes, thank you so much for the community art. For anyone who doesn't know, I did maid streams a long time ago. And I haven't in a while, so look at that. I still have that maid costume somewhere. Trying to make a time traveler, lol. You'll have to wait a couple of expansions, but maybe one day. What if you learned chronomancy prior to ascending to godhood? Then you would just have a feature that is more powerful than any god could do. Can a god smite you? Yes, absolutely. Any god could kill you at that point, but you can always escape. Depending on how capable you are, you can always just run away. New maid stream? I don't know. Are people gonna think that's weird? There's a lot of new people here. Are you guys gonna think that's weird? I don't care. I'll if you guys want it, I'll do it. Dang, guess we're homebrewing chronomancy. Homebrewing? You don't need to do that. You don't need to do that. Don't worry about it. We'll get there. We'll get there. Don't worry. I don't know if how many of you guys remember, but there is a big ol' there's a big old chart with the different planes, specifically the dimensions, the planes, and all that kind of stuff. Let me see if I can pop it open real quick. So, oh, hold on, let me go like this. So some of you guys might remember me talking about this, right? If we were to go through every art, right? If we were to go through all of the arts of magic, all the arcane arts, we've talked about how they all pierce the aether, right? Dang, guess we're homebrewing lore. So we generally exist in the material plane. How many planes are there? Many. Doesn't really matter right now, but we're generally in the material plane. When we do something like evocation, as I state, there is never a way to create or destroy matter currently. It's not a part of the possible scope right now. But if we're on the material plane and you cast fire, right? Like you just evocation fire into existence. What it's doing is it's sending a satellite into the aether with a pilot, right? It has a formula attached to it that tells it where to go. Because the aether touches every other plane and every other dimension. The aether is the center point of everything. So that's why they use the aether. So your spell will go into the aether, and it's like, for instance, in this case, it'll say, hey, when you get to the aether, turn 30 degrees and come back. That is a very crude example, but in this diagram, that's what we'd be looking at, right? It would require you building some artifacts that would act as a beacon, then performing a ritual that would send the artifact to time period. You could then cast a spell that would pull you to that beacon. So there's actually kind of a funny story with that. I'm going to pause what I'm saying right now, because chronomancy will never suffer the grandfather paradox if it's done right. If you were to go back in time, you are unraveling all time in front of you. That is just the immense power of chronomancy. If you go back 6 seconds, the past 6 seconds cease to exist. You unravel everything leading up to that point. And that has a lot of connotations. I'm sure you could guess. But I won't say what the connotations are. That is so specific. It is. Oh, we're interdimensionally texting. Correct. So if you were to be like, oh, I'm going to send a spell, go 30 degrees this way. It'll go into the aether, land about right here, and then come back down at the elemental plane, and then it will travel back the path that you made. That is what I mean when I say it's piercing the aether. It's using the aether as a form of satellite, right? Now, not all arts do that exact thing, right? Some of them do it a little bit wonkier. So evocation will work that way. Array and wake, both of them are not going to do that same thing, right? But they can't exist on their own. That's why they're second and third tier. You have to have evocation to get those because they just modify the spell. They just modify the spell. Enchantment is the same way. It is your capability of keeping that maw open. Array is your ability to produce a throat. The throat being the space between you and the maw. The wake is basically kind of how wide your maw is. It's not really like that. It's more like a funnel. So like if you imagine, right, if this is the fabric of time and a maw is like that, a wake is kind of like going like this, right? You're pushing the layer of reality back a little bit to produce an easier funnel of effect. It's not a bigger hole, it's a bigger funnel, if that makes sense. So if you travel back in time, you can't go back to the future because you unraveled it. Correct. And if you go to the future, you're kind of boned. Because once you go to the future, if you want to go back to where you were, you have to unravel everything that happened. And slowing or speeding up time, even stopping it, in the way easier than traveling back in time? Correct. Absolutely. It is way easier to do that. Absolutely way easier. Refund all redeems again. Oh my goodness. That is insane. 2 in a row. Ori in a maid dress. I'm so tempted to draw Avelicus in a maid dress now. Oh my god, please. I will do an Avelicus stream in a maid costume. So, other examples of this, though. So we talked about the four dwarven arts, right? So that's evocation, enchantment, array, and wake. Evocation is the only one that's actually going into the aether. Illusion is really weird because what it's realistically doing is it's piercing the aether and then coming back into the same plane. It might pull things like... But realistically, what's happening is you're just affecting other creatures. You're not actually creating images, or you're not actually producing any matter. You're changing the sensory concept of things. You're changing how things appear in a way. You know, nothing of illusion is tangible in any way. It's all purely visual, sensory, or something along those lines. Divination works a similar way. So the way that divination reads, if I remember correctly, is that it has to be somewhere where mana is touching, right? If there's a gap of mana between you and, for instance, Uto, if you're on Paya, you can't get any divinational information on Uto because mana doesn't bridge that gap. Mana needs to be able to bridge that gap in order to get there. But regardless, the aether, you're going to pierce into the aether, and then it's going to come back, and it's going to give you information about all the places that the mana is connected to. One of the ways that people make divination nullifiers is by making just a mana port, right? A place where mana cannot exist. Divination will not touch it. Divination cannot see it. Anything like that. I heard Avelicus and maid costume in the same sentence. Evocation, array, and wake can be considered modification to the base formula of the spell being cast rather than the new formulas on their own. Correct. That is absolutely correct. In my diagram, there's a thin area in between the aether and the planes called the nether veil, and you have it appears both to cast nether veil spells, and how I make this more lore accurate. That's perfect. Exactly how I explained it. Now, in Utopian lore, the nether veil kind of sounds like a plane unto itself, but a parallel plane, right? So it'd be kind of like if this, like, let's say that this other on the right is the nether veil. It'd be kind of like those two are on top of each other rather than next to each other. And that does happen. There are planes like that aren't in this diagram, and one of them is the wayward, and I'll explain that later. But point is, divination goes to the same place. Necromancy is very special because it stays in the aether. It actually points directly into the aether, and that's all it's trying to do. Because necromancy is the art of soul sculpting, right? You're moving souls around, and all souls are held in the aether. There's a lot of methodology to how souls work that doesn't really pertain to right now, but innately, you're going into the aether with somewhere in the aether you're trying to go, if that makes sense. And then alteration is kind of the same deal, where you're going to point it at the aether and then come back down. And you're gonna modify a creature in some way. It does kind of seem like an obtuse way to do it, but that's just because it is. It's a way that the elves were able to make it make sense, right? They were able to use their spellcasting capabilities. So it's kind of like, yes, it is a longer path, but it's a path that is stronger for them, right? Because they are extremely magically inclined. So in doing this, they're able to come in with new modifications that they're able to do that they wouldn't have been able to do if they just pointed it directly at you. Me and my homies spam radiating hexproof items. Real. I legit got an ad the second you started talking about the thing. No! Okay, I didn't even realize there was an ad. Is there an ad playing right now? I will redo it. Spells access the Aether in order to change the coding. Correct. And that's where the big one happens, right? A la Matrix. Ritual is another one that just modifies a spell. So Ritual is the 9th art that I've talked about a couple of times. And Ritual is another modification of the spell. Ritual's entire basis of thought is discounts, right? What can you sacrifice other than your own stamina to make a spell more accessible? And this will matter, because some spells get so big that no mortal will cast them, right? Chronomancy is an example of this. Chronomancy spells are gonna be baseline 1,000 power points. Baseline, just for a basic feature. That's for like 1 second of unraveling. And it'll probably be even higher than that. It's not designed to be cast by a single person. Can it be? Probably, yeah. There's probably a lot of mortals who technically could. Not a lot, but there probably are mortals that technically could. But it's not designed to be that way. It's designed to be kneecapped. Ritual, one of the examples for Ritual is that you can spend an hour casting a spell and you cut the spell's cost in half. And that does not count as a discount. That is built into the spell. So if anything says ignore discounts, Ritual still counts. Ritual is still observed at that point because it's not actually a discount. It's just lowering the amount of power points. I'm getting chips now I'm craving violence. Rituals are coming out? Hell yeah. Oh, absolutely they are. Theoretically, is you yourself could reach into the Aether instead of having mana do it for you, you'd be more of a god than the gods themselves. That's a really tough subject, because the Aether does not have matter. It is a purely informational dimension. Now, if anyone hasn't caught it, so the planes I said were made of 3 dimensions technically. They work the same way as 3D. People say we live in a 4D world. That's because the 4th dimension is temporal. That's the mirror myth up here. That's the one I haven't talked about yet. So, Utopia takes place in a 5-dimensional world. I mean, hypothetically, there can be more, but as for what's written right here on the screen right now, it is a 5-dimensional world. The 5th dimension being purely made of information, right? There is no matter. And yes, information is matter and so on and so on, but the Aether can't capacitate it that way. The Aether only contains information. If you were to enter the Aether, you would simply cease to exist. That's it. That's all that would happen. I mean, you would become information, but you would not have a body anymore. So if you had a way to come back and retract and turn that information back into matter, yeah, no, you'd be pretty fucking powerful. I love plane lore! Did you mention that the gods are attached to a universe, or did you say planes? A universe. A timeline is the correct way to put that. And I'll explain that in a second, because that's where chronomancy comes in. So, unsurprisingly, chronomancy is just a straight shot upwards, but this barrier right here is very, very thick. This is a very, very tough barrier to pass, but chronomancy can do it. Chronomancy can pierce the Aether and then go directly into the mirror myth. But the way that timelines work in the mirror myth is that they work off of crux events, right? So you're going straight in one way. When something cosmic happens, and there's a way to tell how this is gonna happen. Yo, 100 biddies and sauce speak. Give me just a second. Lore biddies. All right, so basically the way that it works is you have one ley line that is the oldest. It's called Primordium. Primordium is the oldest timeline to ever exist, and everyone shares history with Primordium because every timeline spawned from it. When something cosmic happens, and something cosmic is very specific in nature, and I'll explain that in a second. But when something cosmic happens, then it will split. It can split into 2 or more, and now you have new timelines, and that's how the mirror myth works. And one of the things that is very important to take into consideration is that if you go through a crux event, right, and you unravel through the crux event, you will destroy every other timeline that was produced by that. That's kind of what I say it has such massive repercussions, because if you destroy the crux event, you will just eviscerate every other timeline that ever exists. And these timelines are often very, very diverse. Because a timeline, a crux event, is naturally because something insane happened. Something groundbreaking, something world-shattering happened will cause a crux event. That's not always true. There's something called sub-cruxes, which is essentially just kind of little baby crux events that happen, where both of the timelines are still relatively parallel to each other, or nearly parallel to each other. If it's pure information, then if a creature successfully touches the veil and escapes, could they just become like some kind of super wacky space super Jesus? Yes, and it's kind of interesting how that works, because the Aether is infinite, but it is infinite bounded. So, difference between bounded and boundless infinity, for anyone who doesn't know, is, if you were to take every countable integer, you know, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so on, that is boundless infinity. You can never reach the last number or the first number in that sequence, assuming we're going negative. It is boundless. Whereas, the numbers between 0 and 1 are bounded infinity. There's still an infinite number, but I can tell you the beginning, and I can tell you the end of it. The Aether is bounded infinity. It has infinite information, but within 2 given points. So if you were to enter the Aether and just get turned into information suddenly, you might break out of the bounds of infinity, right? You might be outside of those bounded limits, which is a whole conversation unto its own. And has repercussions of its own that I'm honestly not even 100% positive of. A lot of it's just like kind of trying to math it out really hard. So yet to be discovered. I don't know. Go do it. See what happens. That's what I say. Don't destroy the Aether, please. It's very important to a lot of spellcasters. That would be very sad. Another one I said I was gonna, this is some real deep lore. For anyone, I did mention the Wayward, which is another important plane. A lot of people will probably like this one because that is the Fae plane. It is the Dream plane and the Fae plane. Some of you may have heard the Seelie Court and the Unseelie Court, which is the plane of dreams and nightmares. The Wayward is a very, very special plane in the way that it is a dream plane, but it is a shared dream, and is where the Fae first manifested. It's where the Fae come from, right? So Fae creatures in the real world are often a hybrid of a Wayward creature and a material creature. And that's what makes the Fae so tricky and weird and kind of awkward to try to discover, if that makes sense. I eated it. No! My lord! Moth would cry. So the Wayward, okay, so this is actually a funny story. I really wanted to tell people about this. I'm actually hosting, Wednesday campaigns, and I'm gonna be doing this tomorrow in person at a card shop. A card shop basically sponsored Utopia to have open table nights. So I'm going to be doing that tomorrow, and it all takes place in the Wayward, which will Fae be playable eventually? Adventurer's Guide. Adventurer's Guide will have Fae creatures. Is it possible to reach out to a different timeline or universe and pull different forms from different types of magic that technically don't exist yet in your universe? I was kind of workshopping that for the story I'm writing. Yes, it is possible, and it happens. It definitely does happen. Let me move. Ooh, playable Fae. What shop? I don't want to say the exact shop. I don't think. I've been wondering about that. Is it, like, fair to say that? I mean, my location is kind of already doxed in a lot of ways. I'm gonna be so real with you. A lot of people already know what general location I live in, but this is getting, like, some pinpoint accuracy here. We're getting to some pinpoint accuracy, and it's a little bit scary to me. But it is in PST. So if you're in Pacific Standard Time and you're in the US, it's in Southern Washington. I'll say that. It's in Southern Washington. Like, very, very Southern Washington. That's actually sick. Congratulations. Thank you so much. One of the reasons that the Wayward was chosen as a campaign topic was because in the Wayward, you can just die and you will be reborn. But the better you understand who you were in real life, the more powerful you are in the Wayward. But you'll enter the Wayward with no idea of who you are in real life. You'll have an entire developed personal history in your head, and it will not be accurate to who you are in real life. That is how the Wayward works. Please don't dox yourself, Lamau. Show us your mailing address, and I want to see if we match. Oh, true, that's a good idea. Don't complete the docs. Docs completing. No, it's in, yeah, that's basically all I need to say. With the Aether connecting all timelines, I imagine it might be relatively easy to use it to pull things from other timelines that it would be easily travel through time. They actually don't go through the Aether. Because again, you want to preserve matter, and the Aether can't really do that. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is a method of doing it, but that's not the common method of doing it. Because the mirror myth is also broken up into weird ways. So I think I'm gonna pull up another Photoshop thing. So let's open Photoshop again. New file. Excuse me, what is the common way of doing that? Oh, you should, if you guys are interested in this kind of thing and you want like a more contextual environment of it, you should probably check out the short stories on Mirror Myth. Very front page. If you type in mirrormyth.com, there's 6 short stories there, and they're part of an anthology called S-X. So that's probably something to consider. More of them will come out, but it'll take time for them to happen. What's a good example of breaking the rule of magic or the laws of magic in the world? That's hard, right? Because, like, what are the laws? Like, you can break arcane arts, and you can do magic in ways that the arcane arts did not intend. But mana is just a concept. I mean, it's real, but it's not, it's just something that you can do. So, breaking it, the only thing I can imagine is piercing a hole in the Aether that's too big, you know? Or putting somebody in the Aether, or something along those lines. Did you just yell at me, Pips? Did you just yell at me? You little butt. You little poo-poo butt. Hi, Pop. Hi, Pip, Pop, Pop. Oh, another soft speak. Ori, I'm gonna release my Utopia update now. What? Interesting. This is extremely interesting. That came out of nowhere. I'm excited. And also it's soft speak. So I'm gonna try to do my best to draw the mirror myth while I wonder I wonder what this could possibly mean. Points that you should post your Kickstarter in the creator chat. You really should. You like let people know what's going on here. Okay, so the mirror myth, you could imagine it like this, right? So you have this slate line, and on a crux event, if this was a crux event right here, it would turn out like this. Now, this is absolutely terrible drawing, I know. But like if you imagine it like that, if there was a crux event here then now it would look like this. Whoa, that was terrible. You know what I mean? So now we have 5 timelines, but one of them is hinging off of another crux event that happened here, and so on and so on. One could happen here, and then we'd have maybe 2 more timelines, and so on and so. Don't judge me, chat. So these are your timelines, right? The way that this is this would be like if we were looking at that other diagram with the mirror myth on top. This would be like if you took that diagram and rotated it 90 degrees and looked at the top. So this is the long face of the mirror myth. So if you were to, when I said that every single person is like driving a pole through that chart, this is what I mean. You're also in one of these timelines and at one position in the timeline as well. But the most common way to do it, to travel between times, is to simply just go from here to here, right? Only certain people can do that. It takes some really funky methods, but people have built those tunnels, right? People have designed those tunnels that act as these stakes in the ground, you know what I mean? That allow you to traverse these empty spaces in time. That's been enough explanation of that topic. I'm gonna release Utopia update now. Yeah! Yeah! Look at that, look at that, look at that. We should post this in the Discord. I think we should post this in the Discord, honestly. Oh, this is so sweet. This makes me so happy. Okay, yeah. Let's post this up in the Discord real quick. Chat. Timelines! This sounds more like a moral law than a cosmic law. Yeah. Blood magic? What's the question with blood magic? The Wayward is a fun concept. I did something adjacent to that in the time a lot of story potential. Can creatures from other planes enter other ones? Oh, absolutely. That's not uncommon by any means. Planar travel is like almost normal. What's a good example of breaking a rule of magical laws? I don't know if that's a law or if that's just a... Was there just a bot that was like absolutely... Oh yeah, there was a bot that was just going ham, wasn't there? I didn't even catch it in time. Thank you. Oh, Oh, nice. I see what they were sending. That's wonderful. Thank you for catching that, mods. I appreciate that a lot. Please do. I want to see. You want to see what? Dude, how are you? Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, fuck again. Yeah. That was wonderful. I always tell my mobs to time out before banning, to give yourself a little bit of a grace period to think for a second. Just so that, because it'll still delete all of their messages. So I'm like, just time them out and then think for a second, is that worth a ban? Message me if you need to. But mods got it. Mods knew what to do there. Thank you for the on lurk. I appreciate it. Please stop. Please stop. Oh, well, at least they hit level 1. That's good. I'm gonna post this in the Discord real quick. I'm gonna post this this link in the Discord with a cute little message. I don't know if I'm gonna do it on stream just so that I can focus on stream for a second, but where are we at? Where are we at? You got it for me? I'm just gonna respond to it. Thank you for uploading that. I appreciate that. That was so cool, dude. That was so cool of you. That was so awesome. I would love to do more in the future. That is really, really cool. Having some official not me expansions to Utopia would be such a cool thing to have in the future, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. I want this to be accessible not only to players, you know, obviously I don't want it to be expensive to play the game, but there's just laws I have to abide by, right? Not literal laws, not like legal laws, but laws in the sense of like, there's just things I have to do, right? Because if someone's going to purchase it, then I can't give it away for free. I mean, there can be exceptions to that, but I can't just hand it out to whoever if people are paying for it actively. There has to be some level of value that's gained from the people who did invest in it. But at the same time, if I just gave it away for free, obviously it would make no money. So, and then it can't expand or build it upon itself other than like open source environments and stuff like that. But regardless of that, you're awesome. I appreciate you so much, Point Sage. I really hope you get some support off of that. That is so cool. It's such a cool concept. I love it. There's an option on Twitch to delay messages so mods can react faster to such messages. You are true about that. We don't have that problem super often. Fodder? Did somebody with a founder's badge just come in? We talking about you giving away the gold in the pot of the gold that you've been protecting, were you? I'm not a fucking leprechaun. Oh, old memes die hard. And by that I mean they never die if Fodder's around, obviously. Fodder? I love Fodder so much. Fodder's been here since like the beginning. But I love free things. You should just base your entire business model off giving us free stuff. That's a good point. You know what? I think you're right, actually. Guys, the Kickstarter's being canceled. That was a joke. That was a joke, guys. The Kickstarter's not being canceled. Everyone just pulls off all of their backings right then and there. Like, the entire thing just falls back down to 0. Right then and there. Chat, we just broke 600 backers. Do you know how ridiculous that is? That is so insane, dude. I cannot believe that. Implodes instantly. I cannot believe that. The support for Utopia has made me so happy, honestly. Ah, this is so cool. This is so cool. This is so cool. I'm so giddy, dude. I'm so giddy. I'm so glad that people like it. I was so ready for Utopia to flop. Like, I want you guys to know. I was like so prepared. I was mentally prepared and I was emotionally prepared for this game to just fail. You know what I mean? For it to just fall off the side of the earth, no one knows, fail the Kickstarter, and I'll just do my best to publish it over time and save up money for it, right? You have no idea the surprise, the shot in the chest I got when it started to pick up speed. And I was like, oh man, people are actually like getting on this. And then it started to pick up more speed and I'm like, oh god, people are getting on this. And then it cleared the goal and I'm like, okay, all right, cool. It was so wild, dude. You got shits? Let's go. Thank you so much for the hydrate. More backwards equals more money equals better Utopia. That's it. More Utopia, better Utopia. How many of you guys have caught the wordplay in the celestial bodies yet? I'm sure a lot of you have. I'm sure a lot of you have. Someone actually commented on YouTube that was like, the name is Utopia. That's definitely not foreshadowing. And I'm like, oh. Dude, yeah, it's been great. I can't wait for it to drop. I skipped the video the first time I saw it. Super lucky it showed up again. That's actually really funny, and I kind of love that. I kind of love that a lot. You did? Good. It usually, like, most people that I know that pick up on the wordplay are like, how did I not realize that sooner? But it's not as I feel like it's not as obvious as it seems. My doggo acted like she was never fed before. Yeah, no, they'll do that. Piper's like that. But Piper would never admit that, right, Pips? Dog. It took me so long. It's like that. It's like that, and I find it really funny. I try really hard to diversify it away from the meaning of that, but, you know, it's not dumb. You're not dumb. That was my exact reaction. It was fate. It was fate. I'm so happy, dude. I'm so happy. I found Utopia on a whim. I don't watch TTRPG videos, so I don't know why YouTube recommended it to me, and I'm so glad it came to me. That makes me so happy. I don't know why it's just, like, hard pressing this onto people so hard, but I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad it worked out. I'm happy, personally. I'm happy. Also, the planet name wordplay was something I picked up on as soon as I saw the names written. I love that. Everyone's so different about it. Like, some people catch it immediately, and some people are like, you just go so long without knowing. I like it either way. I like the way. I love random RPGs, and I had to watch later to fall asleep to. Ended up watching the video to completion and joined the Discord. Ayo! That's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, the Discord has a lot more people in it than it used to. It definitely has a lot more people in it than it used to. Which is obviously no complaints from me at all. I'm so happy to have you guys here. I'm so excited to have you guys here. But with that, I did mention yesterday, I don't know how many people caught it. I did say that just chatting streams are generally going to be shorter streams. So this one is only going to be 2 hours, which means we're going to be wrapping up here pretty soon. Utopia is the literal reason I'm going to graduate college next year. Let's go! To be fair, I didn't think about it until you said something about it in Minecraft stream. Ayo. I'll take it. Whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes, right? For sure, my wacky little critters are so fun to make. I'll be forcing my party to try current version after we finish this arc. Let's go. Good. As it should be. Force your players to play. That's what I did, and now I'm here. Except I did that for a long time. There's a lot of people who suffered a long time through some of the garbage mechanics that came out of this goddamn game. You think it's half-baked now. You should have seen when I was giving people body, mind, and soul points as a reward for being creative. Nah. Crow will never let me forget that. Alright, chat, we're gonna need to find a raid target. It's that or they have to fight a swarm of demi-lich. Both work. Why not just make them do both, honestly? Let's go. 6'4" professional yapper. That's kind of funny. Between, I think. Yeah, let's go like this. I like this one. I like this a lot. I'm rating blind chat. So be nice. Be nice. I really appreciate you guys a ton. Please copy that raid message. The top one if you're subscribed, the bottom one if you are not. The bottom one does not require any emotes or any subscriptions to any channels to use those emotes, rather. So copy it and paste it in their chat. Let them know who sent you. I really appreciate you a ton. You guys have been absolutely so awesome to me, and this has been such a phenomenal experience, and I cannot even begin to explain how happy I am to have you guys here. You guys are super awesome. Thank you. Only requires calling over a leprechaun. I'm not a leprechaun. I'm not a leprechaun. I love you guys so much. You guys are so amazing. See you next time. See you next time indeed. Friday will be Minecraft. So if you guys want to play Minecraft, come join us for Minecraft. If you want to watch Minecraft, come do that. I know it's probably not everyone's jam, but if it is, hey, I love you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Bye!
You do have a steal function there. Anyways, yeah, I hope that you know how much I appreciate